through yesterday, and this is the how to, or how do you become a voice actor sort of panel, sort of thing. You guys, I'll just wait for you guys to sit down and sit over here. How many of you guys in here, so I take it that everybody who's here has wanted at some point to get into voice acting or doing something, right? Just raise your hands. Okay, cool. How many people here are actors already? Okay, cool. Has anybody over here ever done, and I won't look like a fan sub or anything like that. No one will admit to it, that's fine. But, so I'm going to start a little bit. I had done a panel like this over at Oticon recently where I worked with, or I did with Tom Whalen. Some of you guys know I'm also a producer. I cast stuff over at DoArt, which is one of the other places. It's a place that we do Pokemon and we do a bunch of other animation out in New York City. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got into voice acting, and then I'm going to tell you why that won't be the way that you do it. Okay? I started to tell this story last year. I started to tell the story yesterday. I started doing anime while I was in college. Okay, I was a theater major at Hofstra University, and I got mono. Now, I won't suggest that as a career path for most people. I got mono, and I wound up staying home and taking a year off. During that year off, I went home. I went to go back to live with my parents. I had my car parked in the driveway. My car apparently had mono also. The battery was dying. Okay, every time I would wake up, I would drive around, it would charge. I would put it down to go to, park. Wake up in the morning and the battery would be drained. So you could drive it like maybe half hour, 20 minutes, which is how close everything is in Long Island. Lived there, my brother, who did not have a car, because he was a lazy person, took my car, and when I woke up, I found that my car and my key were gone. I went around calling and trying to find him, and finally I get him on the phone, and he's like, yeah, man, he's like, did you know your car doesn't work? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? My car doesn't work. I told you that. That's why I said do not take my car. He's like, yeah, well, you know what? It doesn't work, so I left it at George's house. See you later, bye. Oh my God. And I'm sitting there with the phone in my hand, and I'm like, who the hell is George? So I'm calling all my brother's friends, everybody that I know, everybody. I'm like, do you know who George is? Do you know where he is? He has my car. I don't know who he is. Let's see. This is why I say that car theft led to my career. I'm like, where is George? Who is he? I get my friend Rob on the phone, who I'd grown up with for a long time. He's like, yeah. He's like, I know where George is. Don't worry. I'm gonna come pick you up. I'll get a new battery for you. We're gonna go pick it up. As we're driving, we drive around, and we get to talking. And he is interning at a place that no longer exists right now that was called Central Park Media. He was an artist intern at the time. And he's chatting. He's like, we get to talking, and we get to George's house. We pick up the battery. We're doing stuff. And he's like, they told me at work that I need to bring in some people. We're doing this new show, doing this anime stuff. And they want me to bring in some people to audition. Do you know anybody who would be interested in that? And I'm like, well, how about me? That's what I'm going to school for, for acting and stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, totally, cool. He's like, come in, calls me, and we wound up getting the car, going through, going over, and sure enough, he does call me a week later. And I go in for an audition for a show called Record of Lotus War. I go in, I do my best sort of thing, I'm nervous as anything, and then, about a week later, I hear nothing. A month later, I hear nothing. 2 months later, I hear nothing. I'm like, you know what, that was totally cool, whatever, I'm back at, I'm doing my stuff, I'm trying to audition, I'm like getting over my mono, doing okay. 6 months later, I get a call. Congratulations, you've been cast as the part of Deedlit in Record of Lotus War. I'm like, that's amazing, that's awesome. And then I go in, and I do the job. What I didn't know at the time, which Rob told me later, is that they had actually considered me for 2 roles, but they had no idea who the heck I was. and didn't want to double cast me in anything. From there, as I did my session for Deedlit, someone saw me. Someone came in and they were like, hey, oh yeah, you're the girl that we don't know. And they sat in on my session. I was so nervous doing the session, so that you can get an idea. I was so nervous doing it that like we worked for maybe like 6 hours straight. Everybody else in there, because this was my first job, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the first time somebody's paying me to say anything in acting. And I was so, like, I'm a very serious, total student. And they all sent out for lunch. I totally did. They're like, do you want anything? I'm like, oh no, I don't want anything. I just want to work so you don't fire me. That's great. And then they brought me in for another audition for another show that they had. Someone came in, they're like, oh hey, we don't know you. We want you to come in for this. I was like, okay, fine. I booked that job. While I was recording that, someone else came in and sat down. Now they know, they're like, oh yeah, we heard about you. So we'd love you to come in for this other audition. So I did that. And I booked that job. And then they brought me in for another audition. And someone came in and they're like, hey, yeah, by this one, they're like, oh yeah, you're Lisa. I've heard about you. Yeah, totally. I'm surprised we haven't met yet. And still, I'm like, I don't want a sandwich because I really want this job. And then they brought me in for an audition for a show called Slayers. And I was like, I did the whole thing. I did not think at all that I'm gonna get this job. I go in, I'm like, that was really great. I'm like, I screwed that up so bad. And then I booked that. I did not necessarily book everything that I did after that, but it was people coming in and seeing my work and being familiar with it, and then meeting other actors and things like that, that brought me to a bunch of other auditions that I had. And then other people started calling me and went out. That is not necessarily the normal way that people go about this. And I'm going to split this up into two parts too, so that you guys know. Splitting up, one is focused on like acting and doing that and being positive and all this, that sort of stuff. And the other stuff is focused on the nuts and bolts of what it actually takes to continue to work and what it is to do demos and all the things that you're going to need to be able to do this. I started my career off because, and these are important because they're going to come up a lot, I met somebody who I knew who had access to something, and I was prepared. I may not have been prepared to do that particular audition or what was going on, but I had training, I had a background, I had all sorts of stuff. I was already performing and doing things, so I could kind of bring that. And also I was really lucky, but that's going to be a big thing. You're not going to be lucky all the time if it's something that you wind up doing, but you will get lucky every once in a while. And when you do, you have to be prepared to take advantage of that and to be able to kind of go out and stand up for it. You know, like you have to, it's one thing to like get somebody to say, hey, yeah, sure, come on in. It's another thing that when you show up and you go in there, you're already bringing enough stuff with you that you're ready to show them what you need to do. And that's where the first part comes in. How many of you guys said you were actors or you were studying? Okay, you. Here up for the actors, very cool, very cool. And that includes, I don't know if you did regional, you've done anything like that. The biggest thing that, and I'm going to open this up to questions in a little bit, but the biggest thing that people don't think about when they're thinking about voice acting especially, and a lot of you, when you think of voice acting, are you guys thinking mostly, who here is like, I want to do anime? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Actually, can we close the door back over there? Because is that possible? Just because I have super bad ADD, so I'm going to keep...
But the doors are actually locked, so...
I hate those doors! Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's totally fine. No, that's great. That's totally cool. Now, if you want to, it's also very important to know, if you want to have a career where you're doing voice acting is a small portion. The biggest portion of it, if you're doing voiceovers, if you're doing anything that's on for animation, you're an actor first. That's the thing you have to remember. So you wanna have some kind of training. You want to be able to act. A lot of people are told, and I've had people tell you this, so probably a lot of you have been told, wow, you guys have a really great voice. Or that's really cool, or you have fun, or you've been watching cartoons and you like, that's how I started too. I started when we were little, we used to do radio shows, with my brothers. Like we used to like just go and sit there and record things, or we would imitate stuff on TV. And that was very, very cool. But you have to be able to, when you have this cool voice, you have to be able to produce a character out of it. You have to be able to act, and you have to be able to give life to these characters that you have. So it's very, very good, and it's very important to make sure you get some kind of training. So that you, or, you know, I mean, and I'm not going to say that not everybody who does this has had a lot of training, but most everybody has. It's very, even if you have like a gift or you're able to do it, it's about sustaining it so that you can do it for a long period of time. And it's going to be part of, if it's something that you want to do, depending on where you are, it's maybe not going to be able to pay every bit of your bills. There's a lot of people who I work with who I've worked with people who are on Broadway, who are on, who have like national commercials on TV. I've worked with people who are just like musicians who have done stuff. I've worked with people who have done nothing else except maybe, you know, like hang out in their basement and talk to themselves. They should probably take medication for that, but instead they got a job. And it really depends. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but this is a part of what you can do. It's if you think that you're going to, if you think you're going to do this and like make all your money from this, that's not going to happen. You're going to be doing, it takes, and if it does happen, it's going to be because you're doing continued effort. It's a job. When you start doing acting or voice acting or anything like that, there's different tiers and levels of it. But basically, what you've decided to do is start your own business. The neat thing is that the only startup cost is you. So as long as you don't have to pay for yourself or get yourself, you know, like your parents didn't sell you into slavery or something, or like you were on the, you know, black market somewhere, you pretty much have a good investment. Do you guys have, before I start going into stuff, do you guys have any particular questions about voice acting? Yes.
It's my birthday. Can I get a hug?
Yes, you can come up here. I'll give you a hug.
Oh, that was so cool.
All right.
That's good. And also, here's a hug. Oh, happy birthday. Let's sing. Here you go. Stay here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. You are welcome. Is someone making you a cake or like taking like a brownie and sticking a candle in it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Someone do that. That's important.
Yeah, I want a brownie.
Does anybody have any other questions about getting into, about like voice acting or getting into the business or anything? Yes.
Is it possible to, well, should you make a demo tape and send it in?
Yes. I will get into that now. So I start off talking about training and talking about that. It's definitely, it's important for you to understand if it's something that you want to do. And also, like, some of you may not want to do this at all, but you're interested in how people got started, or how, you know, what you know, people did, or how they got into it. One of the first things that you're going to do, because I'm going to assume right now, this is it, I have dubbed you all, you are now entrepreneurs. You are all starting your voice acting career, whether you realize it or not. Some of you will never get your business off the ground because you didn't want to anyway. But for today and for this purpose, you are all entrepreneurs. First thing that you're going to want to do is you want people to hear what you can do. Okay? So well actually, before you even do that, before you even get to your demo, the demo is going to be the tool that everybody's going to listen to hear stuff. In my case, I wound up doing an audition, and I wound up doing a whole bunch of stuff, and people started to hear my voice. It wasn't until after I had been working for a while and I started to do other things and wanted to work in other places that I put together what was a demo. Okay? But you're going to need it. You're going to need a demo, especially because there's people who do not know what you're going to do. But the first thing you're going to have to do is decide, what am I going to put on my demo? Okay? Now the thing is, and a demo for people who don't know,
A demo is something that it represents, you record
Yes, a recorded demo. No, that was because I was actually going to bring my demo for you guys to hear, and I left it upstairs because I'm a horrible, horrible speechwriter. But I'll do a practice little one for you.
Yeah, because with a demo, it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of, you need to drink a lot of water, and also you need to do a lot of vocal exercises while you do the demo, so that they'll see whenever you present the demo, they see how good you really are.
Right, but all the stuff that you just said, like the exercises and stuff, that is stuff that you have to do, but you have to do that for you. They should never hear, when they go in, when you get the demo, that is a finished product of your work.
Exactly.
You're gonna want, you're gonna want a character demo. If you wanna do, if you wanna do like voice acting for specific things, there's 3 different kinds of demos that you have. There's your commercial demo, which is for people who, like stuff for TV or radio or things like that. And that's the stuff that basically essentially makes the most money. So if you're looking to start your business and you want to use it to pay for things, you're gonna wanna have a commercial demo. People who have great voices, you can do announcing voices, you can do all that, you're gonna want that. You wanna focus on you wanna focus on cartoon work, or you wanna do some anime, it's gonna cover some of it unless you're really lucky. It's probably gonna start off being something you do on the side that you're doing in addition to having your own job and doing other stuff. You have to decide what your voice type is. Now, I'm going to assume you're not going to be auditioning for women's roles. I'm going to throw that out. I'm just saying because you would be surprised, some people are confused. You may be able to do anything under the sun, but the first thing that you want to do is figure out, what do I, who is the producer, who is the person who's going to be listening to your demo, what do I want to cast you as, and what's the actual work out there? So you're going to figure out what your voice type is. Do any of you sing? Okay, great, great. So you guys who are singing, you have a little bit of an advantage because you would know your voice type, which is not necessarily, you can figure it out. We usually talk in the studio when we're listening to new people, especially if we're casting like Pokemon or any of the other shows. We talk about different types of voices. You have your bass, who is going to be your older guys and your really gruff guys, and your like huge dragons and your, like big stocky guys. That's going to be your bass. You have your tenors, who are going to play sort of like middle-aged, like middle guys, like people in their 20s and their 30s, and those are the guys who we're going to call in to play teens. If you sound like Barry White, you are not going to play a 15-year-old boy. It is not going to happen, and you will never be Ash or any of the small, you will be no one that is under this tall, or this tall. But it's important to know that. And then you want to get together a couple of clips. And you want to practice. Make sure that anything that you put on your demo, you can repeat. And you can, and you want it to be sort of different. Now, there's also, you can have a range of voices within that. You can maybe get, like an older man, you want to do some comedic stuff, you can have a younger guy, you can get some character-y stuff in there, but you want to make sure that they're set up in a way that it's showing your range and what you can do. The best thing to do is to listen to, there's a bunch of websites online where you can listen to other people's character demos. So you can get an idea of what's actually out there. There's a place called Voice Bank on the net. There's also, there's a place called Voice 123 that you can actually market yourself at. And there's a couple of places, and what I would recommend is that you go and you start listening to demos. Listening to what other people are doing, listen to what people who maybe you know or who work, and listen to their demos and hear what they are. Most of the agencies in New York City also have a lot of their actors' demos online. Like that's like a next step. You're starting off your business, we're not even thinking about that yet. You're just getting your materials together so that you can kind of figure it out. The second thing, so now let's say you figured out, what do you want to put on your demo? Okay, you want teenagers? I would say just by you opening your mouth also. I would put some adult characters on there too, like someone big. You don't want things that are just screaming. You don't want things that are just, like showing off the voice. You want us to see that you can actually act in the voice. because it doesn't do any good for us if you have an awesome, amazing voice. And everything that you do, so to get this voice sounds like this, and then you're going to the ball and you're happy, and now I'm sad, and now I'm upset, I'm having an emotional breakdown. You know, like that's where your performing chops in. And you can do them really small. Like, you can have it be really small chunks, and it should be, your demo shouldn't be more than like a minute 20 seconds at most. And I would say you want to put like maybe like 5 or 6 characters on there. Within a minute and a half, yeah. So, and then you're going to get into, a lot of people have, has anybody here who's music or who's done it, has anybody ever used any of the programs that you can record stuff at home? Okay, cool, cool. What have you used?
I've used Audacity.
Okay, cool, that's a great one. And
What if you use your original voice and you have a piano as a backup?
I will get to that in a second. That if you do that, you're going to want to record them separately. Because I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the quality of the demo, of what you want to put out there, because it's going to affect how people see you and how they take you seriously. So it's not bad to have a piano background, but you're going to want to make sure that it sounds a certain way.
And also, if you have like your original voice, I mean, you can sing a cappella, and if they see how well you do it, then they'll be better. Is that right?
Well, here's the thing. If they want you to sing, if they want you to just perform something, they might hear you sing and say, this is a singer. A singer is different than someone who's going to be doing a character voice. But I'll get to that. I think those are good things. I will get to them. Who else said over here that they had used a software for recording? So we've got Audacity. What have you used? GarageBand is a good one. And someone else was over here? Yep.
You can.
You can?
It's a camera program to record yourself doing a voice demo.
Okay, I think that's probably a good thing. I'm not familiar with that one. It's probably good to like get stuff down so that you can hear it and you know what it's about. But I don't know, what do you export? What kind of files do you export with that?
Well, you can have a microphone and your computer. That way you can record your voice while on the camera.
Okay, no, that's a good thing, and this is a good thing to know. Like, if you're practicing stuff and you want to hear how it sounds, you may want to do that. But what you're going to want is a sound program. If you're going to try and do this yourself, which I'm going to say I don't necessarily recommend, unless you know what you're doing and you have a soundproof area and you are sure that your mom's not going to scream in the background or your dog's not going to come in and jump on you. Because I tell you, if I hear a thing and there's like, and it could be the greatest guy in the room, he's like, hey, how are you? What's going on? And then, shut up, Rover, I'm trying to record my demo. I'm going to go, I have to go now. Not because of anything else, but because I'm probably listening to, depending on who comes in, or whoever is listening to this who's casting, they're listening to a bunch of people, so you want to grab them. And one of the things that they are going to judge you on the professional quality of it. Now, with something like Audacity or with the program that you're using, you can do a professional quality thing. But there's also a question of some of these stuff, like as I said, like you're running your own business right now. You want to make sure that what you're doing, this is going to be your calling card for a long time. You want to make sure that what you have is good. And you want to make sure that your performance is good, and you're going to want to play it for someone else who is not your mother and is not your sister, unless your mother or your sister is a director or a casting agent. Okay, it's important, and that's an important thing, because sometimes like we love what we do. And I've had this, and actors who have worked for a long time have that too. Like you sit there and you do something and you think it's awesome, and you're like, and I've seen shows that have gone up like that. They're like, this is the funniest thing. And I'm like, it's funny for you guys because you all know what's going on. But like, if anybody else is watching it, they don't, like, we don't know what the heck you're doing. And I had no idea that that guy pulled your pants down in 10th grade. Like, that was, like, I didn't get that. Like, from Rover, come here. That was weird to me. That was not a true story, so don't share this. But it's really important. There's a lot of programs, there's a lot of people who do demos. Now, the idea of that is if you're character specific, like if you're looking to see this is something that you do, like you're an actor, you want to do this as part of what you want to do, you're going to want to get a commercial demo that is done professionally. You can play, I can listen to a commercial demo and hear range of someone's voice and whether they can kind of act. But the character demo will tell me what they can do. You're going to want it to be your voices. Maybe you have music, maybe you don't. My first character demo that I had done did not have any music in the background. It's not necessary, but it should be put in afterwards. Like with yours, if you're doing that, you can record it to there, but your piano should be recorded separately, because otherwise it's not going to have the same vocal quality and it's going to sound like it was made in someone's house or their basement. You don't want that. Even if you make it in your basement, as long as it sounds good, doesn't matter. Make sure you have a good mic, make sure you have a good system.
I had a music teacher who told me that I had private lessons, so she told me the basics, you know, how to record, you know, like the...
But she was a music teacher, though, right?
Yes.
So that what you have is a music demo, which is great. But it's, if you can do that, like for music, it's different. If you're singing and you want somebody to know you sing, you can have someone playing piano with you and you can sing, and that's great, and we can hear that. If you're doing like a voice-over specific thing, and that's important, because like I said, there's actually 5. You can get a commercial demo, which is going to sound very different. You can have an animation demo, which is going to be all your characters, okay? You can have an audiobook demo, which is for audiobook specific, because they're all different kinds of work. And then you can have also a music demo, you know, depending on if you're going to sing and you're going to do jingles and things like that. So let's say, does anybody have any demo questions first? Okay, yes.
You know, now that you mentioned about the demo, there is another website that I've seen, but it was done by this actor, Stephen Blum. He has a...
Oh yeah, I know Stephen.
He has a demo of all the voices that he has done in every single show that he's worked on.
That's great. And that's a very cool thing. And that's another thing is that a lot of people have, if they're working for a while, they'll have a website. And on their website, they'll put their demos of their voices and things like that. And that's important because, like, I recently went to an Asian casting director, and that's the first thing they said. They didn't want me to hand them anything. They just wanted to know, go to my website and download and say, are your demos on your website? Great. That's how you do it. So now you have your, let's say, any more questions about demos in particular? Does everybody have like a good idea about what it is and what you need to do? Yes.
When you're doing the demos, do you have to make your own script to read?
No, you don't necessarily. You can have someone who you know do that. You can take something from the show that you know or something. I would not try to imitate their voice because that person's already cast, you know. But I wrote the copy for mine with someone else. We just did like little one-liners of different things and different characters, and I wrote like little copy sample lines of characters that I had done, and put them on there. So you can do that, but what you want to do is make it interesting, make it funny, doesn't have to be a story, and make it short and highlight the character very well. You know. What was your question?
Well, I was going to ask if you could demonstrate like what your demo sounds like.
Okay. Dang, now that I wish that I had brought it. Like, okay, so my demo has, in the beginning, it has about 5 characters, one-liners, and I'm trying to remember what I have on it. I have a character androida that I did for Sci-Fi Channel that I put on there. I have like a little snippet of Lina. I have a small child's voice. These are the things that I know that could go for a woman. You want to have a character voice on there. You want to have your high range. You want to have your heroine on there. You want to have your small child on there. You want to have your boy voice on there. You want to have your adult woman voice if you can. And then you want to have some characters. So I think I start off with some Lina, and I'm like, oh well, you know, I think I didn't try to destroy the village, but oh well, you know, too bad. And I'm like, moron, who thought that you could do this evil thing over to here? I don't think those are aliens, don't kill them. And I just wanted to have some ice cream today, but I didn't know it was all going to melt. Oh my gosh, Barry, that's really great. I love you and you're super special to me. I have no idea what the heck he's talking about. This is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. I have no idea. Can you just grab my cigarettes? I don't know where they are. Oh yeah, it's too hard to write your mother, isn't it? And then, oh my god, I thought that I was going to go to the magical lab or whatever the heck I was going to do. Of course, the copy's much better on my demo. But it's literally like that. It's literally back to back, little small things inside. And oh, and I do have, and of course I have my voice, like my sister won't let me do anything, you know? So you have all those like that, what I just did, but much better because there's copy, is demo. It has all those things really short like that. If I had the original one, they would be interesting things that I was saying rather than just trying to remember what was going on. But they're really short like that. It shows all those things. But you want to show your range. And you want to show stuff that you can be cast at. There's some people who I've worked with who are, and it's very important that we can understand what you're saying. Because as someone, if we're doing an animation, you know, the main thing is character voices are great, but what you're doing is telling a story. So, like, for people who like voices like, do you have any idea what I just said? Okay.
It sounds like you were underwater.
Exactly. But people have come in and they're like, that's my voice, isn't it cool? And I'm like, I don't know what you said. So it's a cool sound, but we can't use you. So, but it's like that. Small chunks. You can get somebody to compose music. There's people who do the demos. I would be careful of necessarily, sometimes demo classes are great, but you want to make sure that you have copy that either you put together or that you put together specifically for you so that nobody has the same demo as you. This is a problem sometimes in the city. There's demo classes, or you can get things online, and you have this one demo that you come in and people are like, wow, that sounds really great. This person is awesome. And this has happened. Then the next person who comes in has the exact same demo with the exact same spots because they went to a class. And the class told, like it was a class of 10 people, and it told them exactly who to send to. So we hear the next tape and we're like, wow, this person is exactly the same as that person. Okay, so you want to avoid that. But you can get somebody who can help you. You want some kind of guidance. If you can, you want it to be in a professional sounding environment, either a professional studio, which you can probably do. You can contact a radio station, see who does that, or if you know someone who's a musician, or if you have the equipment and the capacity to do it, and you're in a place that's fairly soundproof, you can record your demo. Okay, but I really suggest if you're trying to go out, especially if you're trying to get started, that's great. Make sure it sounds very good. Make sure the quality sounds good and it doesn't sound like it was done in your basement, because people will, it's unfortunate, people will judge that. They're not going to listen to it. They're going to say, this doesn't sound like someone who's serious about what they're doing. And, okay, any more demo questions? Yes. Oh no, ask as many as you can.
When you're done with it, who do you send it to?
That's the next thing. That is the next thing. I'm going to get to that. Does anybody have any questions about just like the making of your demo? Okay. So now you've got your demo. It's awesome. It's the best demo ever made, and you have put everyone in Disney to shame. What do you do now?
Everything.
Exactly. Either that or you stare at it and say, I am secretly the best person in the world, and then you leave it on your bathroom counter. None of you are going to do that because you're in business and you want to go out and get a job. What's important is to know that, where are you? Are you in New York? Are you in Texas? Are you in Miami? If you were, well, obviously if you are in Miami because you're all here, if you're not, then please, I don't want to interrupt your special vacation. But what you're going to want to do is, if you're going to send your demo to somewhere in New York, they're probably not going to use you because you're not there. You can't come in. And of the people, if they're going to do things, a lot of times when you're getting work, literally, like, you may send it out, and tomorrow, they may be like, can you come into the studio? If you're in Miami, you cannot come to the studio tomorrow, and you're not going to spend plane flight to go over there. So chances are where you want to start is by you. Or you want to start online where people are looking for people who are not there. And so you're going to send your demo out. The first thing that you're going to do is maybe find out who does this, who does what you want to do near you. There's a number of papers, there's a number of websites online that you can look to, like there's Actors Connection kind of things online that you can do. There's also Backstage is a national thing that tells you all the auditions that are by you. They focus a lot more on theater, but occasionally they have voiceover stuff. You're going to want to talk to the talent agencies, look who's represented around you. There's a book that's called The Ross Reports, that once a year they list everything that is being done, anything that's being recorded, anything that any casting directors, they're going to list all the people that you could possibly know who are in your area who do what you want to do. You're going to want to try and find, I don't know what's out here specifically. In New York, you're going to want to send it to someone like me or someone else who's at one of the studios who's doing those. But you're also going to want to find out, in the Ross reports, they have a section that's called animation, if you're focused on animation. And just so that you know, the majority of animation right now is done in Los Angeles. There is a great amount of animation that's done in New York, but the majority, far and beyond anything, is done in Los Angeles. There are local things that are going on. Things that you're going to get voiceover-wise locally are going to be more likely. And Texas, of course, they're doing a lot of anime in Texas. So if you're by Texas, that's a great place to be. You're going to want to look at radio stations. You're going to want to see if you can send stuff there. You're going to want to see who the talent agencies are around. You're going to want to look those things up online. So you're going to have to do some research. But Backstage is a good place to look. Ross Reports is a good place to look. There's places that you can kind of go and see. There's also, like I mentioned, there's Voice 123 and a couple of other places like that. Now, this is something that you're going to put your demo online. You're going to put a little showcase, you're going to put your demo online, and then they're going to tell you what jobs are going on. And what you're going to have to do is keep submitting yourself. You're going to have to look through every day and say, oh, okay, look, a job came up. I think I would be good for this, and send it out. The best way, bar none, to get somebody to listen to your demo is to know somebody, or meet somebody, or talk to somebody. So another part of what you're building your career is meeting people, talking to people. Even talking to someone like me, or someone who you know who does this. Look and see who you know who's done anything like this, who's maybe in your circle, who's there, and talk to them. Because people will listen. I had a guy who came in and who had sent us his demo, listened to a bunch of stuff. Tom and I had both listened to him, and he sounded good. He was good, but he was not like, we didn't come and call in. And also remember, people who are listening to your demos are probably doing 10 billion things at the same time. Like, I sit down any given day, I tell people to constantly call me back, or like email me, and find out how people want to be contacted. For me, I don't like people to call me, I tell them, email me. Send me your demo. You're going to want to make CDs of your demo first, so that you could do that, or put it up online somewhere as an MP3. And then you're going to start marketing yourself. And that's how you have to look at it. You're marketing. This is the business part of your marketing. This is the part that actors hate. This is the part that everybody hates, because everybody's like, look, I'm better than Disney. Look, I put it on a disc. Why do you not know this? Because no one's heard you yet. Just like when I first walked into my thing, nobody knew who I was. And that's okay. At some point, nobody's going to know who you are. That's okay. And actually, what you don't realize is sometimes it makes it harder for you, but sometimes it's to your advantage. We're working on a show that has run for like 1 billion seasons. We have a number of people who we work with regularly, who we know who are good. There's a bunch of us in the city who know each other, who work all the time. Okay, people know and they talk to us because we've built a reputation. But we're always looking for new people. Everybody always wants the new voice or a new person or someone they haven't heard, because there's always something new to go on. So you have that on your side. You just have to build up enough of a reputation to be the good person that they want to go to. So you're going to send it out, you're going to find out what's going on in your neighborhood. You're going to look at those, you're going to look at the trade papers, find out what the acting trade papers are in your city, find out the radio stations, find out any opportunity that you can to get in front of a mic or talk to somebody. Because you never know, somebody who you meet in passing, who is maybe, there's a lot of, in New York City we have these things that are called, there's like a place that used to be called Actors Connection, and there's a place that used to be something else where you actually go, you bring your demo, and you can put it in front of casting directors and agents and things like that, and they will give you feedback, and they'll also listen to it, and maybe they'll cast you, maybe they won't. It seems like a weird thing, but this is how people do it. I talked to some of the other actors who are over here. You move to a new city, you go to LA, you go to somewhere else. You may have done everything under the sun where you were before, and you know your directors. Like right now, when I'm in the city, I know people who are working there. They've worked with me for like 10 years. I don't have to tell them who I am. And they trust when I show up that I'm going to do a certain job. Well, you don't have that yet. Okay? No, and that's not bad. It just means you have to figure out, you have to A, put yourself in front of their face so they know who you are, but do it in a way that's not annoying, because then they won't want to talk to you ever. And that happens. Like, what you do not want to do is throw your demo out there, and then call them once a week and say, so, do you have any work for me? You have anything? How do you like my demo? What's going on? And there are people who have done that. And there are people who have, there's an actress who's like infamous out by us, and she literally would call every week. She's like, so, do you have any parts that are there? So I can do this really great voice. And then she would proceed to do the voice on the phone with you when you're about to step into a meeting, and you're like, actually, I can't right now, I have to go. Assume that the person that you're sending to is kind of busy, but that they want to hear what you're doing. Once you send it, follow up. Say, I sent my demo a week ago. You're going to want to keep in touch with them and tell them what you're doing. And that's going to be important, because they may hear you, they may like what you're doing, or they may have feedback for you. They might say, you know what, this voice doesn't work for you. Or I didn't, you know, and that's the other thing is when you're doing this, you have to kind of have a thick skin. Know that if you don't get a part, it's not necessarily because you're awful. It might be. Maybe you need more training. But it also might be that they already have somebody, or they have, you know, their sister cousin's best friend, or the person who was the lead in their last show, and they only have a week to put the whole entire thing together, so they're going to go with somebody that they know. You can't get discouraged. Do you guys know the movie The Help that's coming out now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that the woman who wrote that is now a bestseller? Okay, and it is a bestseller. It's gone everywhere. It was rejected from publishing 40 times with her script before she was accepted to be published, and then it became a bestseller, and then she went out and did things. What she did during those times was A, not get discouraged, B, she took any feedback she got and she went back and used it. So anytime you're not accepted, use it as an opportunity to better yourself. If you can find out why in a way that's not frustrating, be like, do you have any feedback? Which is always a nice thing. Like, I just sent out this demo, I put it together. I'd really love to work with you, but if you have any feedback, let me know. And then politely follow up. You don't want to pester anybody, but you want to politely follow up. You want them to know that you're still alive. And you're going to do that for a while. It's true. You think it's funny, but like, I've had people who are great, but I didn't have any auditions for them. And what happens, you're busy, you're doing other things, you forget about them. A month goes by, I still didn't have anything, a month and a half comes by, they shoot me an email. And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about this guy. He's great. I bring him in. You don't know, you have to keep yourself up in people's consciousness. And you have to keep in that month and a half, or that, you know, like that's why I tell the story of how I got into it, that I didn't hear for 6 months before I got the job. A lot of times for other jobs you're going to hear sooner, but you don't know how long it's going to be. During those 6 months, if I had decided, you know what, I didn't get the audition, I'm going to quit acting, I didn't do anything, I sat in a box under my porch. When I went in to get the job, I would have been horrible. You know? So I kept working, and I was still doing other shows, I was still doing other work, I kept on my game, and when I went in, it showed. So you want to keep up on what you're doing, and you're going to want to try and manufacture things that you are doing. Like, it's great if you've sent out a demo, you want to follow up, I just did this show, or I just did this, or I just worked on my new demo, or I just did this. So you're going to want to start to like do a newsletter of things that you can send out. But you're going to, the thing is that if you, the nuts and bolts of it is that if you don't live by somewhere, chances are you're not going to work for them. You're going to have to, if it's something that you're serious about, you might want to send out some feelers, and then, you know, find out what's going on in your neighborhood, see if you can get stuff in there. But the fact of the matter is, if you live somewhere where what you want to do isn't happening, it's not going to happen, because it's just not there. But that doesn't mean you can't build a resume while you're here, that you can't try and find work that's similar, you can't find radio, you can't find all that stuff. But a lot of this is legwork. A lot of it is follow-up. A lot of it is checking to see who the auditions I know that you guys know Rachel Lillis, right? Do you know her? She was Misty in Pokemon for a long time. She's done like 1 billion titles under the sun. She got started by an ad in Backstage that said, we're looking for auditions. And she walked in and she booked the audition. If she hadn't been looking through the papers and looking to see what was going on, she never would have come in. She never would have known about the opportunity. She didn't know anybody when she started. She had been working and doing other stuff, but she went through there. But another great way is to know somebody. Like this guy who I told you Tom and I were looking through, he was a good guy. He was great. He was okay. Not necessarily, we were like, all right, he's all right, you know. And then we found out that he had trained and worked. There's a lot of places that do workshops that do well. He had worked with Dan Green. And Dan Green does some classes in the city where he does training, and a couple of other people do. There's a couple of voice actors who are well known. He had worked with him, who we work with all the time. And we're sitting during the course of conversation. This guy, when he sent the demo to us, didn't mention that. He didn't mention who he trained with. He didn't mention that he had trained. He didn't mention any of those things. We had Dan, and he's like, hey, did you ever, you know, did my guy, whatever, you know, like, did my guy Mike send stuff into you? And I'm like, what do you mean your guy Mike's like, yeah, I worked with him for like 6 months. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, we heard his demo. He didn't mention you. He's like, oh, I'll tell him that he should. I'm like, what was he like in class? And they're like, no, he was really good. I told him to put certain things on his demo. I don't think they were there. But, and he listened to it, and he's like, yeah, this is a good demo, but he can definitely do more than that. And we're like, okay, great, come on in. So then we called him and we brought him in. Because a lot of this stuff, you don't have a lot of time, so you're dealing with reputation. That's the most important thing that you have. And you may not have one, but if you know somebody who does, you're trading off of them. They're telling you, you know, like if Dan Green says you're good, I believe you're good. Come in, and I'm going to give you more time, and I listen to, you know, and a lot of times we listen to people, and we know they're good, but we also know they're not ready. So I will recommend a small amount of people. I recommended a guy who I know who's a brilliant actor. Just because you're a great actor doesn't necessarily mean you're a great cartoon actor. And just because you're a great cartoon actor doesn't mean that you're going to do Shakespeare. You know, like these are totally different skills. He's a great actor. He had done a Nickelodeon cartoon at one point, just one. He did one small character pickup. Sounded really great. Brought him in. His audition, we could tell he was a great actor and he had a great voice. He needed some work with the cartoon stuff. Like he needed to get a little bigger, and he needed to, like what we call slopping up your diction. Because cartoons do not speak exactly like this, which often happens when you're on the stage, you know. But we'll call him in. Just because you don't get a part the first time doesn't mean you didn't make an impression. And that's the thing with your demo. They may not need you for that project, and maybe they give you feedback, and then you take that feedback and you fix it, and then you go back and do something. I've had that too for commercial stuff. Things have happened recently. People come in, and they're like, we can tell that you can do it, we can tell you're talented, and we can tell that you're going to, like, this is going to be easy for you to do. This is what you work on. Call me in a month. And then I'm going to see you again, and we'll see if we can use you. So that's what I mean. It's a process. Don't, like, if you don't get it right out of the gate, don't freak out. But it's important to know if you can study with people, that's great. If you can do stuff like that, it's very cool. Yes?
And who's this actor that you're telling about that they brought him in? What they said who worked on only one episode in Nickelodeon?
Oh, this is someone who I had worked with on stage for years. I had worked with him. We actually had originally gone to college together. And I hadn't seen him in years. And I had another friend of mine who did a bunch of theater in Philadelphia who had a friend of hers. And this is so that you understand that whoever you meet, you never know how it goes back. A friend of mine who does a lot of theater had an actor who I saw in a show. We will go see shows. I go and I see theater, and I say, that guy's really great, I want to bring him in. Or if you had something else, I'll see something else that you do and I'll bring you in. So I saw this one guy on stage, and are you guys all set? You guys are getting ready to set up? Okay. And he was really great, and his show was fantastic. He came in and he booked like 5 jobs that we had. And then after that, I found out that this guy who I hadn't known for a while, I reconnected with him, and they had studied together, and they had done a show together. I saw him in that, and we brought him in from there. So it was one of those things that not only did I have a background with him, but also then he was very well recommended by someone who I had just brought in who was booking a whole bunch of work. So it worked out. Okay. So we got our demo, we've got all that, we're following up, okay. And it's just important to know that like while you're doing all that, if any of you are still in business, I don't know, are you guys are like, oh my God, that's a lot of work, I didn't realize. But so you're doing that, while you're doing that, you're paying your bills. So this is an important thing, you've got to split your focus. You know, you have to leave enough time to do all the things that I just said and still pay your rent and still do all the other things that you're going to do. So you're going to, like, that's the whole, like, don't quit your day job. So you're going to work, you're going to do something, you want something that's kind of flexible, that you can work with, that you know, if you have a job, you want to make sure that you can leave it so that you can go to an audition or you can go to a gig if you get it. So it's, I mean, it's a lot of, it's a balancing act, but it's totally doable, but you just have to be honestly committed to it and keep, you know, training and doing your TS. Does anybody have questions in general? Yes?
On an episode, you played the voice of Princess Diamond in Sailor Moon. What was the, like...
I actually was not in Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was done in Canada.
Well, then how come, I saw on my Wikipedia, it had some of your latest work.
It would have stuff on there, but sometimes Wikipedia is updated by people who don't necessarily know all this stuff. That one in particular is not mine. I also am not married to a wrestling star, which is what another Lisa Ortiz is. And that's great. It would be really great, but if so, he hasn't been home in a while, so he should start paying some alimony. That's all I'm saying. But, so there's, yes.
I heard that when you do voice acting, you get other opportunities like doing producing for the shows and stuff like that. Like
it just depends if you're able to do it. Like I had a background in I had done direction before. I had started directing and I had engineered, and then I started producing after that. But I also had other experience. Like I had led one of the things that I did for a long time while I was also doing voice acting was that I was a manager of stuff at the now defunct Merrill Lynch. I actually managed their outsourcing department. So I had in addition to like auditioning and going out during the day, I was also managing a bunch of people at night. So producing was something that naturally came out of that. I was a project manager. I could put stuff together. And some people do it, some people don't. A lot of people have started writing, and that's another thing that people do because it's flexible, it's good. It's something that you could do at the same time, and you have talent, and you're used to doing it. So, yes?
Did you have love and support from your parents, your mom, your dad?
My parents hate me. No. You know, here's the thing. I had a lot of support from my parents. They wanted me to do well, but basically they wanted me to be able to pay my rent. So, my mother is a nervous wreck. She loves me, she's a nervous wreck. If I tell her, oh, I didn't book, she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know, you should have become a doctor. You know, I don't know what you're doing, oh my gosh, that's great. If I do something well, she's like, oh, that's fantastic, I always knew you could do it. I'm like, all right, Mom, that's good. I'm glad you're bipolar on that issue. But, and my parents don't know anything about the profession. My parents do something totally different. They love me, and they're happy for me when I do well, and they're unhappy if I don't do well. But as far as like getting work and doing things, that's something I've done by myself. And that's something I've done making connections and stuff like that. Like it's a great thing if you have it, but if you don't, you don't. Yes?
As a director, isn't it kind of annoying when actors email you and give updates? When you're kind of like, I don't know who this person is, why are they emailing me?
Oh, if I don't know who they are, then I'm not going to read their email update. Like, because I'm going to be like, who is this person who's emailing me? I have no idea who this is. But if they've contacted me and sent me their stuff, to me, that's not annoying. To me, that's not annoying. Unless you send me something like 5 times a week, in which case I'll block you and then you won't have anything, you know. But no, it's not, because the fact of the matter is, like I said, I'm busy. And anybody who has been sending stuff, you need to keep in touch with someone. You need to be able to talk to them, you need to do that. And if you're actually doing something, if every week you're sending something and it's not, then that can be kind of annoying. But it's not bad, because sometimes you won't, email is the most passive way of doing stuff. It used to be that people send postcards and do all that stuff, some people still do, but it's the easiest thing to do. And if I see you in the email, and if I'm gonna read it, I'll read it when I have time, because I might not, you may send it 10 o'clock in the morning, I may be in like a review all day, so I can't even look at it. And then when I go through my emails, I'll see it, and I'll read what you're doing, and if, there's something interesting in there, maybe I call you in, maybe I don't even have any work for you. But that's the best way, I think. Yes?
The actors that you do work with, don't they sometimes, have like complaints and they want to change stuff, and they always they bitch and complain it to you about it?
You've just described an actor I don't want to work with. You know what I'm saying? Is like if you're constant. No, and it's true. It's true, because the other part of it is also everybody has complaints. Everybody has stuff. Talent people are going to work with you. That's totally fine. But a lot of the profession and a lot of everything that we're doing is also, remember that you're going to be sitting with this person for long periods of time. Everybody wants to work with somebody that they like and that they can work with. And if you have an issue or a complaint, that's totally fine, and we'll address it, and that's fine. But if you're constantly, if you're like, this script is in English, I hate English, why can't we do this in my, in Norwegian, which I've studied for 10 years.
Exactly, like if they can't stand the wardrobe, or if they can't stand the script, or if they can't stand,
Well, in my case, if you can't stand your wardrobe, well then you're really unlucky because you dressed yourself this morning. So I don't want to hear that you hate your pants, because quite frankly, you bought them, buy better pants. I don't care if you come in your pajamas. It doesn't matter, it's fun. You want to have, and that's the thing, be positive, have a good attitude. Where are we on time? We're out of time? You should have just told me that. That's it. That's great. You guys, they're getting ready for the next thing, and I'm sure that they'll continue and tell you all this stuff. Is there any last questions? Yeah.
Is it good to have online stuff, like on YouTube, just a bunch of videos that you do showing off your voice and different stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's good as long as they are good and well produced. If it's something that's an asset, it's going to be an asset online or on YouTube. If you guys want to talk to me as I'm around or anything like that, you're welcome to with any questions that you specifically have. But that's it. I don't know if I answered any of your questions, but there you go. Thank you guys, and good luck.